when you look at Coach June Jones, he knows Nick Saban. He worked with him. When you talk about some days in the Houston situation, knows Coach Saban, certainly knows Tua Tagovailoa. Coach June Jones, welcome back to Tuscaloosa. I hope all is well, sir.
Well, I'm doing good, and thanks for the invitation to share my thoughts.
Absolutely. And I know you've been quite busy because you coach up at the Canadian Football League there for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, but Tua Tagovailoa having a great season here in Tuscaloosa as the starter at the University of Alabama.
Yeah, definitely. I followed it very closely as much as I could. Obviously, with the technology now, even if I miss a game, I can get it back up during the week and watch what I want to watch. So it's been fun to watch his progress and just getting better and better.
Coach, you've coached a lot of great players and certainly many that, we talk about the offensive knowledge that you have, and your name comes up quite frequently here in Tuscaloosa, and we talk about Tua. Can you walk us back to the first time that you laid eyes on Tua? You saw this future at quarterback. Can you kind of walk us through the early stages of seeing Tua for the first time?
Yeah, well, I was, here as a coach, as you guys remember, and I remember all the young kids continually going up to St. Louis High School to get involved with Vinny Passis and his quarterback teaching from every Sunday, and he must take every young kid that wants to be a quarterback in and does it for free. And so I remember watching he and Talia as they were real young. And then when I came back after I was done at SMU, I volunteered at St. Louis to his junior year and watched him at practice every day and gave my thoughts. Ron Lee and Cal Lee were two coaches that worked for me at the university when I was there for 10 years. And so they're continually running our offense there at St. Louis. And so I did what I could to help as much as I could. I would say that I recognized right away that this kid was different. He had great arm ability. At that time, he wanted to run the ball as much as he wanted to pass the ball, and I was trying to encourage him to learn to get down and slide because eventually those guys are going to be as big as fast as he was. And just watching his success amazed me last year. And when he came in that late in the game last year to win it, that did not surprise me. In fact, the pass that he threw to win the game was exactly the same pass he threw the other side of the field to win the state championship against Kahuku that year before.
Coach, what was the connection? Because I know that Coach Nick Saban. Was there a connection? I mean, when you talk about Tua choosing Alabama, did you have any involvement in that?
No. But
okay.
What happened on that was Tua actually, I thought he was going to go to USC, maybe Oregon. Those were the two that I thought was going to go. But Trent Dilfer had a top, I forget what they call it, top 12 deal in May of Tua's junior year at Nike. And Trent Dilfer, who I know real well, and we text back and forth about Tua, and he chose Tua as the best quarterback in the country because he had the top 12 guys there, I think, that were going to be seniors. And so from that camp, I think it's when Alabama got interested in Tua.
When you talk about Tua, I think a lot of us are just amazed. And Coach, when you look at it, I mean, just watching him throw the football, I mean, we've got a legendary tradition-rich program here, and he may walk out of here destroying every passing record from, Joe Namath, Kenny Stabler, A.J. McCarron. I mean, the list goes on and on. Richard Todd. I mean, there's been some great ones here. It's already been a record-setting year for him. It is, single-season record. But there's already talk here that he may be the greatest quarterback we've ever had. Certainly, the arm talent is amazing to watch. I mean, it's just you fall in love with the way that ball comes off that left-handed arm.
Yeah, he has tremendous arm talent, and I think the thing that has really shown up this year is his accuracy vertical down the field. He has the ability to put the ball, and can throw it to spots accurately. And the last game, I could tell his ankle was bothering him when he was throwing. Even the last pick he threw across the field, that was not an accurate pass, and he couldn't. It was affecting his throwing from the ankle injury earlier in the game, not the second one.
Well, and I think they were the report was that it was the fourth play of the game that he hurt his ankle and really kept grinding. I guess it's and you're a lot closer to the culture there than we are, and we've kind of become to understand the Samoan culture. But I mean, I guess this would be the right thing as just a warrior, because the ankle injury required surgery to go in, and I know it's part of the healing process, but the injury that happened the fourth, fifth play of the game required surgery to clean some of that up and to get ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, well, him going back in, you're exactly right. That's part of the culture, and I think it's part of the culture that the people at Alabama are seeing, not just on the field, but before the game, after the game, all the commitment by the whole family and the culture to be a part of something that's not been there before. And I think you'll end up attracting a whole lot more Polynesian kids to Tuscaloosa just because of Tua's success, which will trickle throughout the locker room. Tua's not going to go out of the game hurt. He's going to suck it up and try to play, and that's kind of, you can say what you want. It's kind of old school football, but we all did it. They played the game, and I think nowadays, you don't see that as much of guys trying to fight through it.
Let me ask you, how close is Tua and Talia at their age? When you talk about the arm talent, Talia, we had a chance to watch him last night. He led his team 7A state championship play of the game. Unfortunately, they got beat by Central Phoenix City, but Talia took a lot upon himself and certainly arm talent there. How close are these two? Are they comparable?
When I originally saw Talia when he was just a freshman, I thought that this kid, was going to be just exactly like Tua, except more of a polished passer. That's a lot right now as you see Tua because he can pass, but at that time Tua wanted to run the ball a lot also, but trying to coach Talia when he was 15 at Kapolei High School to become a quarterback and become a passer, and being right-handed, as a 15-year-old, he broke every record there was in the state of Hawaii. And you can go ahead and name all the quarterbacks, including his brother. He broke all those records. So I can tell you this, that he has the ability to play at the next level, and he also has the ability to play at the next level after that. So I'm excited for Talia.
Coach Shun Jones joining us right now from Hawaii as we're talking about Tua and Talia. But let me ask you about Nick Saban, because all he does is keep winning. I mean, we doubted his team. 6 new coaches this year. When you talk about, that's a big turnover. Lost both coordinators. He brought in 2 new coordinators, was able to get things done, right back into being number 1, undefeated. You're a coach. You understand what it takes to stay at this level at a long time. What do you see that Nick Saban that has allowed him to just continue the success? I mean, we've lost words down here in Tuscaloosa the way to describe this.
Well, Nick knows what he wants to do. I mean, he doesn't change his schemes. He does what he does, and he has the coaches that he hires conform to what he wants them to do. He doesn't have them do or change what they want to do. And so when you have a system and you're continually running the same things on defense, in particular, I'm talking about, then you're going to have a chance to get good because you just continually replace the players and you know what you're looking for at each position. And Nick's done a good job of being able to get those. And being at Alabama, you should be able to get the best players coming out of high school, just like you did Tua, to fill those spots. I think offensively, just watching him this year, just watching Tua play, I see that he's playing offense the way he wants to do it. I think this year, probably more than any offensively, is how Nick wants to play the game. throw the ball 30 to 35 times a game and run the football. And that's Nick Saban, and that's what he wants to do. And he's been able to do it because he's got great players, and they've bought into the schemes that Nick has put out.
I'm just curious from a local standpoint, when you look at one of your own, what somebody that certainly that community embraces. I was talking to, there's an Alabama affiliate out there that airs the Alabama games because of the connection between Tua. What's the sense of pride when you see the Heisman stage and you see a young man that grew up in Eva Beach that is now on the center stage and may walk out? I'm not 100% certain, but he's one of the 3 finalists up in New York City. What's the sense of the community as far as pride in seeing Tua reach this level?
Well, everybody, here, it's Hawaii is just a unique place. When you grow up here, when you play football here, when you coach here, whatever it is, you become family to the island. And just like you said, I listened to the Alabama game I got back after our season was done. We lost in the playoffs, and I was listening to it on local radio here. It carries the Nick Saban show even on the radio. So, there's a huge following. Everybody here is rooting for Tua, just like everybody in Tuscaloosa is rooting for Tua. And there is a sense of pride here different than any other place in the country. It's a special place. We've had a long history of quarterbacks here that I think the biggest thing that's happened in the last 20 years is we started winning at the university in the early 2000s. We started throwing the ball all over the yard, and what's happened is the college recruiters are coming in here now looking for skill positions, quarterbacks and receivers, where 25 years ago it was just running backs, offensive linemen, D linemen, linebackers. There were no quarterbacks that really played, but because all the high schools now are spreading the field and throwing the ball all over the yard, now all of a sudden, you got Marcus Mariota, you got Timmy Chang, you got Jason Gessner, you got all kinds of quarterbacks that are coming, and there's one at St. Louis right now named Jaden DeLora that's going to be a great when he gets out next year. So it's fun. The whole island takes joy in following their kids.
All right, Coach, I'm going to let you go. Certainly, we appreciate you coming on and spending a couple of times, but I got to fulfill a promise that I made. Mike Detillier is coming up literally right after you, and I asked him to go back a couple of minutes just to be able to work you in the schedule. But he's having lunch. It's just such a small world. Bobby Hebert, which played for you in Atlanta. And so I made a promise that I would tell him on the air that Bobby, because I literally called him, and he said, tell Coach Jones I said a big hello. He coached me in Atlanta. I had to do it. I promised him I'd do it, and I'm fulfilling that promise. Well,
I appreciate it. Bobby was one of my favorite players of all time, and he was one of the hardest workers, and I wish I had him when he was 22 years old. I would have put him in the Hall of Fame.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you, and certainly, hopefully, we're celebrating on Saturday night, and I know the community there is as well. Thank you, Coach. Have a great afternoon, sir.
All right. Aloha.